It's the Tom Selleck stash. All
You
right. Why don't you guys throw your cameras on? Let's get started for the last session today. I was um I was watching I love the TED Talks that they do. And I was watching one the other day. I just put it in the chat. And I'm listening to this talk, and I just loved it. I thought it was absolutely outstanding, and of course it's been going viral and taken off, and he's already up to 300,000 views. And this is Gregory Benedict, just an incredible guy out in San Diego. He is a life and leadership coach and just an amazing public speaker. And I'm going to hand it off to him, and he's going to do a little presentation for you guys on some really cool stuff. So, Gregory, thank you so much, first of all, for coming and spending time with all of our transitioning vets. We truly appreciate you doing this, and take it away.
Thank you so much for having me, Jordy, and thank you all for your service. That is something that is unbelievable. It takes a lot of courage, takes a lot of bold action, which is something that we're going to be talking a lot about today. So let me share my screen here and we will get into it. I'm going to share about something that is deeply personally meaningful to me. And let me just check in. Can I get a quick thumbs up if you can see my slides? Okay, beautiful. So we're going to talk about this concept, this life mantra, this life philosophy that's called living a story worth telling. And not only am I going to tell you how it's impacted my life, but I'm going to share how to implement it in your own life in the best way possible. And knowing that I'm the last person speaking for today, I know energy might be a little bit low, but we're going to have a lot of fun today. We're really going to bring that energy up. And I always like to start these talks on a really positive note. So the first thing I'll share with you is that you are going to die. You're going to die. I'm going to die. Everyone on this call is going to die someday. And while that might seem super negative, that's actually incredibly positive because it allows us to talk about something super important. Has anyone on this call heard about the top 5 regrets of the dying? Give me a thumbs up, give me a wave if you've heard about it. Fantastic. So, learning about the top 5 regrets of the dying changed my life. It's going to change your life today, too. It turns out that at the end of life, not only do most people have serious end of life regrets, but that we all have the same 5. And this comes from research done from a Australian nurse named Bronnie Ware. So Bronnie sat with over 500 of her patients on their deathbed. And in their final moments, in the last couple weeks of their life, she asked them, "Do you guys have any regrets? Would you do anything different?" And like I said, nearly everyone had regret, and she kept hearing the same thing over and over and over again. So she wrote a book, a best-selling book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. Highly recommend you check it out. The number one regret of the dying. This changed my life forever when I heard it. The number one regret people have at the end of their life is, I wish I would have had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. I'm going to say that again because it is so powerful. I wish I would have had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. And as I mentioned, this changed my life because when I heard this for the first time, this quote punched me in the face. It made me realize that my entire life was based on other people's expectations of me. We'll get into it in a moment, what I was up to and how it changed. But I wanted to share this because this realization is the catalyst. It's been the start of all of the work I do with people and in my own life. So, a little bit about my journey. When I heard that quote, I was violently hungover in Tokyo, Japan, after a big night out. And I was sitting in this hostel cafe trying to piece myself back together. And I heard Tim Ferriss talk about this research. And in that moment, I realized everything I was doing was for other people. I was working in private equity. I thought it was my dream job, but deep down, my soul was dying. I was feeling really uninspired and unfulfilled because I wanted to connect with people. I wanted to work with people, and I realized I needed to make a change. I mentioned that I was violently hungover. That's actually an important detail because the night before I was out with my friends, but I actually didn't like drinking anymore. The only reason I was still drinking is because my friends loved Party Greg, and I knew I needed to make a big change. So in that rock bottom moment, again, I'm in this hostel. I can't even go outside. I'm so hungover. I said, I'm going to quit my job in finance. I'm going to stop drinking for all of 2020. This was back in 2020, not an easy year to go sober. And I'm going to finally have the courage to figure out what I want to do with my life. That led me on this big adventure from quitting my job in finance, starting a nonprofit with a stranger I met on the internet. And it led me to what I do today, which, as Jordy mentioned earlier, it's leadership and life coaching. I'm obsessed with helping people figure out what they want in life and how they can take bold action to go get it. But the main thing I want to talk about with you all today is this hypothesis that has informed all of the work I do with people, and it's fundamentally changed my life. It comes from a quote, and I would love to see a show of hands. You can put it in the chat. You can come off mute and say yes. Have you ever heard of the quote, "Fortune favors the bold"?
Yes.
Yes.
Beautiful. I love it.
Yep.
So I have always loved this quote. Anytime in my life growing up, it seemed like any time that I would take bold action, my life seemed to immediately improve. And I'm a quotes guy. I'm a quotes nerd. I literally have a huge document of all the quotes I've collected over the years. And as I looked at this quote, I was like, that's weird. I wonder if this quote is not just a cool quote, but what if this is a formula for how the universe works? And so I started really thinking about it. I was like, okay, I like stoicism. I like separating things into what we can control and what we can't control. And it got me thinking, we can't control what happens to us in life. Let's call this fortune. But we can control how bold we are being. And this whole hypothesis was that if we increase the boldness in our lives, again, something that's within our control, maybe, just maybe, we can increase our fortune or what happens to us in life. My life was never the same after realizing that and testing it over and over and over again. And I'm going to tell you two stories about how I went on an adventure to test this hypothesis. So the first story took place on a Saturday morning. I was sitting in a cafe in San Diego eating breakfast with a friend. And as we go to sit down at our table, I made eye contact with a woman across the room. Now, when our eyes locked, I had this crazy, strange feeling. This energy just shot through me. And I had no idea why, but I knew I needed to speak to this woman. We sit down, and I'm thinking about her the whole time we're eating. And I'm like, I don't know why I need to talk to her, but I need to. And so I told myself, if she's still there by the time I'm done eating, I'm going to go say something to her. Now, an important detail that I didn't mention, she was sitting at a table with another man and a woman. So there's three people at this table, and I'm sitting there sweating, thinking about, oh my gosh, what am I going to say? How am I going to approach them? Well, it turns out that they were still eating by the time I finished. And so I got my receipt, I flipped it over, and I wrote my name and phone number on the back of it. Now, at this point, my brain is screaming. It's like, stop it, don't do it, stop what you're doing. And instead of listening to the inner critic, the mental chatter, I stood up from my table and I walked across the room. When I got to their table, the man sitting across from her was speaking, and I didn't want to be rude, so I looked at him and I said, "Hey man, so sorry, can I interrupt for a moment?" Now, this guy's super confused. He thinks I work there and that I'm telling them that they need to go because they've been there too long. So he just looks at me and kind of like nods a little bit. And it was at that moment that I turned to this mysterious Wonder Woman who I had made eye contact with earlier. And I say, "Hey, you're really cute, which means you probably have a boyfriend. But if you don't, here's my phone number." And as I slowly slid my receipt with my phone number on it across the table, she blurts out, "I don't have a boyfriend." At that point, I just start laughing. I smile. I say, "Awesome. Have a good day." I turned and I walked away. Now, the big question is, and feel free to come off mute and let me know what you think. Did she end up texting me?
So are you married?
That's a yeah.
So she ended up texting me later that night. And I am so grateful to share that we have been in a relationship for 2.5 years. She just moved in with me a month ago, and everyone thinks that we are married. We are not married yet, but we are very close. There are plans in the motion that I can't tell you about yet. And the lesson here that I love coming back to is that 10 seconds of terrifyingly bold action brought me the best romantic relationship of my life. All it takes is 10 seconds of sweating through your shirt, of not knowing how things are going to go. But if you move yourself through space and time to get out of your comfort zone, great things happen. That's the first story. As I mentioned, I wanted to figure out, is it true that the universe rewards bold action? Is it true that fortune favors the bold? So, like any good scientist, I needed to test my hypothesis, not just once. I couldn't just tell the story of meeting my girlfriend and be like, wow, this works. Everyone go do it. No, I had to go test this hypothesis over and over and over again. So I embarked on a 100-day challenge of trying to get rejected by strangers in the most outrageous ways possible. It was inspired by this book called Rejection Proof, written by a guy named Jia Jiang. I highly recommend it. He kind of invented this 100-day challenge, and I made it my own by trying to be bold and talk to strangers. So on day one of this challenge, I knocked on a stranger's door and I asked if they would go for a walk with me around the neighborhood. Their answer was no. But between the moment I knocked on their door and the moment they answered, I felt so alive. And I realized that this was a good thing. I was onto something here. And so on day number 4 of the challenge, I knocked on another stranger's door. But this time, I was wearing a swimsuit and holding a beach towel. Now, I just want you to imagine that for a second. Imagine that someone knocks on your door, you open it, and it's me. At the time, I think I was 28. So a 28-year-old man with a great mustache is standing at your door looking like he's about to go to a pool party. So this man opens the door. I put on my best smile and I say, "Hi, my name's Gregory, and I was wondering if I could jump in your swimming pool." And in that silence, the man looked at me like I was absolutely crazy. I definitely was a little bit. And then he burst into laughter. Now, I thought I was going to get punched in the face. Instead, he bursts into laughter and he goes, "Sure, I don't see why not." And so I meet him around back. We end up filming a 10-second video of me jumping in a swimming pool, and I post it on Instagram. Over the course of the next 2 weeks, this video went viral. It got over 350,000 views, showing me that this idea of taking bold action really resonated with people. It also helps me figure out what I was going to do next, because that was day 4. I had 96 days left in this challenge, and I now had literally hundreds of thousands of people following along and being like, "Oh, you should do this. Wouldn't it be funny if you did that?" So that was, in a nutshell, this journey from meeting my girlfriend to going on this rejection challenge to prove that fortune favors the bold and the universe rewards bold action. Now, I always like to say, Pixar didn't happen. So here are a couple pictures from the journey. Over here, let's see. Here's my mouse. This is me asking the mailman if I can drive the mail cart. No. This is me getting strangers to do the Macarena with me in Mission Bay. That was a success. This is me asking the Amazon delivery driver if I could drive his truck. Also a no, because it's illegal. And this is one of my favorite ones. So this guy, his name was Grant. And Jordy, let me just check in. Am I freezing a little bit? Okay.
No, you're
Okay.
good, man. Keep going.
Okay. Sorry, I was lagging a little bit on my end. So this guy, I'm at a park and he's standing there, and I walked up to him and I looked him in the eyes and I said, "Hey man, would you mind pushing me on the swing set?" And no joke, this guy doesn't even hesitate. He looks back at me in the eyes and he goes, "Yeah, man, I got you." And so he pushed me on a swing set, and it was literally one of the funniest experiences of my life. 2 grown men playing at a little kid's park on the swing set. So bold action is something I'm super passionate about. You can tell how I talk about it. It just fires me up. It gets me going. And I want to talk about 3 reasons that you should take bold action in your life. The first reason is for the result of the action itself. So when I made these slides, I had just been asked to go speak on a podcast, and there was going to be 5,000 people live watching it with tons of other people watching it after it got released. But that was terrifying. I was like 5,000 people all at once. I mean, there's 519 participants here. This is a little scary too. But I said yes, and in saying yes to that, someone listened to it who was in the live audience who ended up becoming a client and we worked together. So there was a little bit of a reward right there. The second reason to take bold action is that the universe rewards it. I'll be talking about this again and again, but when the universe sees you getting out of your comfort zone, it starts to shower you with these little gifts. These gifts often show up as what I call the two S's, serendipity and synchronicity. You'll start meeting the right people at the right time. Things will happen that seem kind of impossible, and I'll actually speak to that later. But the third reason we take bold action is because there's this magical shift that happens when we do. Again, when the universe sees you doing your thing, getting out of your comfort zone, you move from what I call linear progress, where 1 + 1 = 2. This is kind of the day-to-day, just one step at a time, to exponential progress. And again, I'm going to pause because I'm getting a message that says my internet's unstable.
You're coming through fine. You're good.
Okay, great. I'll just keep going.
Yeah.
So exponential progress is where 1 + 1 = 12. Again, exponential progress. You make a quantum leap, things start happening faster, bigger, more fun, more exciting in your life. And the way you know that you're in this magical shift is first, things stop making sense logically. The second thing that happens is time collapses. What might take 10 years or 10 months could take just 10 minutes or even 10 seconds, as in the case of meeting my girlfriend. And the third thing that happens when you're willing to get out of your comfort zone is you start to meet the right people at the right time. All three of these things together form, and your life becomes a story worth telling. That's why I mentioned it's a life philosophy, it's a mantra, but it's also very practical. You will literally, if you start taking bold action, you will literally have so many stories that are so exciting and fun that you'll just start telling people and people will get inspired by them. And I actually have a little story worth telling that just happened last Thursday that I want to tell you about right now. First time ever talking about this. So I mentioned this book, Rejection Proof. This author, Jia Jiang, super inspiring guy. And when I went on my adventure on day number 19, I was on a podcast and I said, hey, wouldn't it be crazy if at the end of this, I somehow got a chance to meet Jia Jiang? I somehow got to tell him, hey man, your book changed my life. Here's all the things I went and did because of you. Thank you. Well, it turns out after months and months of trying to get connected with him through a friend of a friend of a friend, last Thursday, I got on a call with Jia Jiang, the author of this book, and I was able to tell him all the things I said. You changed my life. You're amazing. Thank you for writing this book. My life will never be the same because of it. And I thought this was going to be like a 5-minute conversation where I just kind of fanboy. He's like, awesome. Thank you. Thanks for reading. And then we kind of go our separate ways. We ended up talking for 42 minutes. We hit it off. We were talking about life and love and rejection and where we want to go and what he's working on. And it was so much fun that at the end of the conversation, he invited me to come hang out with him in person. So stay tuned. There's going to be some crazy stories coming from that. But it literally came from me reading his book and having the courage to get started. So, as I mentioned, living a story worth telling, it's so important. It's so essential to me. And it's something that I tell everyone I meet about because I'm obsessed with it. And living a story worth telling is simple. It's having the courage to live a life true to yourself, going back to that top regret of the dying we talked about, and having the courage to go after your biggest dreams in life. Dreams are so important. And if you think about it, dreams and regret are actually two sides of the same coin. The dream is the positive, it's the aspirational, the inspirational, it's what's drawing you toward it. But the regret is also powerful. The regret is what we're running from. So they're both really important to think about. The problem is that every time we go after our dreams, we are up against a negative force. We're up against this headwind. And I want to ask, you can put it in the chat, you can come off mute. Does anyone know what this negative invisible force is called?
Fear.
Self-doubt.
Fear,
Fear and doubt.
self-doubt. Yes. Yes, you guys are nailing it. It's called resistance. And the way resistance shows up is self-doubt, fear, all of those things. I have a slide on that in a moment. But anytime we go after something, our dream, a dream relationship, a dream job, anything that's important to us, resistance is this invisible negative force, and its main objective is to keep us stuck. The worst part about resistance is that the more important something is to your personal fulfillment, to you realizing your potential, the more resistance you're going to feel. So, as you all just beautifully guessed, resistance shows up as fear. It shows up as self-doubt, procrastination, addiction, distraction, overthinking, perfectionism. Resistance is what keeps so many people playing small and kills so many dreams. So, I'm very passionate about helping people overcome resistance. To beat resistance, we need something called a commitment device. This is a tool that I learned about through reading Atomic Habits by James Clear. Fantastic book if you haven't read it. But this idea of a commitment device is so powerful. And what it is, it's just fancy talk for an action you take in the present moment to lock in a desired future action. And a commitment device, the goal of a commitment device is either to increase the obstacles and the costs of bad behaviors or reduce the effort required for good behaviors. So let's give you some super simple examples here. If you keep texting during work hours and that's bad, maybe you're going to lose your job because your employer keeps seeing you on TikTok or you're scrolling. A commitment device that you could do, you could take action in the present moment to take your phone, walk outside, and lock it in your car. You are literally increasing the obstacle, the effort that you would have to go through in order to use your phone. Another thing you could do is you could increase the cost of bad behavior. You could text all of your friends and say, hey, if you get a text from me between 9 and 5, Monday through Friday, I will Venmo you $20. So you're increasing the cost of the bad behavior there. On the flip side, if we want to reduce the effort required for good behavior, the classic example of a commitment device that I go to is clearing out all of the junk food in your house if you're trying to eat healthy and only buying healthy food. You take action in the present moment by only buying healthy food, and you lock yourself into that desired future action of when you're hungry, maybe you're hangry, you're going about the house, and all you have is healthy food. So it's going to be hard to eat unhealthy. Those are some decent examples, but my favorite example of a commitment device comes from this guy right here. This is Victor Hugo. In the summer of 1893, he was living life. He had just signed a book deal and he had 2 years to write his next book, which he was really excited about. But Victor Hugo is human and he did what most people do when they have a big project and a big deadline. He procrastinated. Victor Hugo spent the entire first year doing everything he could in his power not to write. He was going out with his friends, he was socializing on the town, he was doing everything besides writing his book. And a year into his deadline, his book publisher found out that he hadn't written a single page, and they were pissed. So the book publisher comes back and goes, You not only you don't have 1 year now, because he had wasted the first year. Not only do you not have 1 year to finish this, you have 6 months. And so Victor Hugo realized that he needed to do something crazy. He needed to take bold action to get this book done. So here's what he did. He gathered up all of his clothes and he locked them away in a chest. He then locked it and gave the key to a friend and said, Do not give me back my clothes until I'm done with this book. The only thing he left himself with was what he calls a writing shawl, which essentially is like a big snuggie or a blanket. And so just imagine this man locked in his room, writing furiously for 6 months, wrapped in a blanket. And the reason why that was so effective is because he realized that he would be too embarrassed to go out and hang out with his friends. He can't go out on the town only wearing a blanket. People would think he's crazy. So that was his commitment device to make sure he got the book done. Not only did he get the book done, he finished it 6 weeks early. And this book is called The Hunchback of Notre Dame. You've probably heard about it. That's my favorite historical example. Here's my own example of a commitment device. This is a picture of one of my best friends and I, Vinny, in Japan, separate Japan trip, not the one where I was violently hungover and hit rock bottom. This was just a couple years ago. I have a really strong inner critic. I'm sure many of you have a really strong inner critic. And my biggest fear in life was that at some point I would settle. I would settle for a life that didn't excite me. My potential would be over here, but for whatever reason, I would only make it to here. And at the end of my life, I would have to face up to that gap between where I ended up and who I could have become. So, as I mentioned, I love this idea of living a story worth telling. And as my commitment device, the action I took in the present moment is I decided to get live a story worth telling tattooed on my arm. Now, you can see in this picture, you can see right here on my arm, this is facing me and it is permanent. So anytime I am feeling like I want to choose the safe, comfortable option instead, anytime I want to play small, I look down at my arm and it reminds me that I am here. My mission in life is to live a story worth telling while helping others do the same. And the reason I mentioned the inner critic part is because I knew that if I got this tattooed on my arm, there is no way my inner critic would allow me to live with myself if I didn't go after my dreams and if I didn't try and live the biggest life that I could possible. Now, I'm not saying that we all need to get tattoos or matching tattoos, but we can. We can talk about that later. But I went all in on living a story worth telling. Again, I got it tattooed on my arm. This concept of taking bold action led me to meet the love of my life. And in documenting the journey and getting to talk about it, it led me to give a TEDx talk, which I did back in March, which I believe Jordy dropped in the chat. So all of this entire journey not only helped me, but it became a story that I could tell to inspire others. And that's really what I'm all about. Living a story worth telling changed my life. It's why I'm so passionate about it. And check this out. That before picture is in 2019 when I was working in finance. And that after picture is just about a year ago. And I want you to look at my eyes. Look at the difference in my eyes. Before, I was dead and empty on the inside. Now, I'm alive because I literally make slides about content I'm so passionate about, and I get to come talk about it with amazing people like you. Living a story changed my life, and it will change your life too. And so I really want to leave you with a question, a single question. What is one bold action that you could take today? You could literally go take it when you get off this call that will move you closer to your dreams. Every big dream starts with a small single action. And so I actually want to take about 30 seconds here and I want you to think about this. If you're feeling brave, you can put it in the chat. If you want to just write it down on a note in your phone, you can do that. But I'm actually going to give us 30 seconds. What is one bold action that you can take today that will move you closer to your dreams? And I'm going to take a look at the chat. Yes. I love, oh, Greg, nice name. I just moved to the Midwest yet without having a job lined up. I feel like that was pretty bold. My dad says reckless. So good. Journaling, I've done it already, leaving the army. Start my poem book. Create a roadmap. Ooh, do nothing. Sometimes that is the boldest move. These are amazing bold actions. And I love this. This is literally my life's work. I get so fired up hearing about what people want in life and then co-creating steps on how they can achieve that. Which leads me to this next slide. As a gift to all of you and to Jordy for bringing me in to speak with this amazing community, I wanted to offer you all a free call. So if you scan this, it'll come up. I'm also going to drop a link in the chat. I'll do that right now. This is a free vision call, 30 minutes where we get to meet one-on-one. We can talk together. And its sole purpose is to figure out, what do you want most in life? What are your dreams? And then how can we build a roadmap to start making those things come true? So let me just put that in the chat. Again, you can also just scan it on your phone. Where did the chat go? Great. There's that link. I would love to meet you, hear more of your story, hear more about what you want to create in life, and see if there's any way that I can help you do that. And with that, I want to remind you that fortune favors the bold is not just a cool quote. It's a literal formula for how the universe works. And I also want to say thank you. I wanted to leave some time at the end here to do Q&A, to answer any questions you might have, because I know that this can be a big, exciting, sometimes intimidating topic. And I didn't want to just speak at you for the entire hour. I really wanted to speak with you. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to stop sharing these slides, and I would love to open it up for some Q&A.
Gregory, that was awesome, man. Put your hand up if you want to ask him a question. I loved it, man. That was an outstanding talk. Everyone go watch his TED Talks. I'm confident you'll love that too. I got one quick question, then we'll go to Chris. Can you talk a little bit about how bold relates to going after your first job? Like they're all getting ready for this next chapter, right? It's scary, confusing. They're leaving something they've known very well for a long time, and now they're going off into the unknown. And um, how can your philosophy help them and the job hunt?
Yes, great question. I have so many things come up for me. I think the first is that stepping into the unknown is scary. It's supposed to be scary. As humans, we are not really equipped to deal with the unknown, but it's within that unknown that every possibility exists. And the dream job, the thing you want most, is in that unknown. So if you're willing to step into that with some courage, great things will happen. And specifically in today's job market, in the world we exist in, being bold can help you stand out from other candidates. As you all know, if anyone has spent any time on LinkedIn, you can apply to a job in about 10 minutes. Some of them are 10 seconds. You just click the easy apply. So if you're willing to be bold through the stories you tell, be bold with how you show up, maybe you're bold and you do something fun and playful and kind of out of the ordinary to mix things up, you will stand out amidst other candidates. And also, maybe you boldly apply for a job that you aren't qualified for and you end up getting it because you
Yeah,
had the
spot on.
courage to go for it.
Spot on. All right, let's go Kevin first, then Jonathan.
Hi, Greg. Really excited to hear you talk today. There's so many things you said that just resonated directly to me and just match exactly what I've been putting in my notebook. So I'm gonna do my bold bit right now because the timing is just serendipitous. I'm gonna be in San Diego next weekend, and I would love to sit down 10 minutes with a coffee just to meet you and say hi. So that is my bold action right now.
Let's go, Kevin. I would love to do that. And I'm glad you said next weekend. This weekend I'm in Ohio at a retreat, but next weekend I'm in town. So
Uh,
reach out to me.
Talk about serendipitous.
That's awesome. You guys
five
gotta
two
take a big
sevens.
picture. You gotta
Yeah,
take a
wait,
picture
Kevin,
of
yeah,
that.
give me your number. Give me your number. I'll shoot you a text.
All right,
Take a picture and
325
post that.
660 2628.
All right,
I'll
Kevin, you're
be
getting a text.
I'll be in Carlsbad on 5, 6, 7 October.
I can't wait to get coffee with you. I'm actually in Carlsbad right now. That's where my office is.
Oh, nice.
Awesome. Good job, Kev. Jonathan.
Can't hear you.
There we go. All right. So I'm also in Ohio, so I hope you enjoy it while you're here. While you're here, as a Ohioan, I enjoyed Dave Chappelle a lot. So he has these funny skits that's called "When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong." So I'm just wondering what is the most funny thing that happened when you tried to take initiative, and what did you learn from that experience?
Such a good question, Jonathan. And taking bold action, things can definitely go wrong. I mean, some of the top comments on my YouTube channel or on the TEDx talk are like, "Oh, easy for you to say. If you do this in my part of the world, like you're gonna end up with 4 stitches." Like that was a recent one. For me, I was shocked at how great everything went. I did have some like rejections, but the worst things that happened, one guy I asked if I could borrow $100, and he goes, "No, what are you crazy?" And like I was like, okay. And then I walked away. So again, it's like a few seconds of discomfort for all of these good things that happened. Another one, I asked a man, maybe it was my poor choice of person, but I asked a guy who was wearing like a full cycling outfit. He was super into road biking. He got off his bike and I went up to him and I was like, "Hey man, do you want to do 45 seconds of uninterrupted eye contact?" And he said no. And again, he was like, "No, what the?" I think he literally said the same thing, like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" Um, no one said yes to that one, by the way. So for me, those were the two most negative experiences of literally doing this for 100 days. And it was, again, 8 seconds, 9 seconds of someone kind of being upset at me, but not really. So obviously, I feel like I need to say this. There is a bold action that you could take that would be dangerous, that would be rude, that would like be out of the acceptable lines of what we do in society. But for the most part, the worst thing that I've had happen is someone just says no. And I say this in the TED Talk. The worst thing that can happen when you go for something, when you ask for something, is someone says no. The best thing that can happen is everything. They say yes. They say no, actually, I can't do that for you, but I have a friend who would be super interested. And that's actually what Jaw talks about a lot in the book, Rejection Proof, is that many people said no, and then he would politely ask why, and they would say, "Oh, you can't do that because of XYZ, but my neighbor would love if you did that." So I'll pause there.
So
Were people
basically, what I'm hearing is that like the downsides are very minimal to taking action, right? At least in your experience, right? So I appreciate the answer because it kind of gave me what I thought overall.
It's a great question, Jonathan, and something I talk about all the time is short-term discomfort for long-term benefit. So again, it's going to be uncomfortable when you ask a stranger for something crazy, but
did
that might lead to something beautiful, and it often does.
did any of your friends or viewers recommend something that you're just like, no friggin' way, I'm not doing that?
Oh yes. There's there's a lot of funny ones, some that I won't say on here because they're wildly inappropriate. But one of the funniest ones was ask someone if you can cook them dinner for them in their own home. So not only are you a stranger coming in, but you're literally coming into their home and preparing them dinner. And the what I didn't have time to tell this story, so I'll just share a tiny snippet. But one of the craziest things that happened is I kept getting that request over and over and over again. And it made me think, okay, like that's weird. That's so specific. And then I realized, okay, there must be someone out there who does this or who has done this before. And there's a YouTube channel called Discover Connection run by a guy named Brad. And he does this. He has videos of him asking strangers if he can cook them dinner. And then he comes in with like a full team and does it. And the wildest thing, talk about synchronicity and serendipity. I got to meet Brad throughout my 100-day challenge simply because I was talking to a friend on the phone, telling him about what I was up to. And he goes, "Oh, that's weird. I just moved in with this new guy in Austin and he does this professionally." And so I got to meet Brad through that. He came to San Diego and we hung out. And it's just like those little moments that just blow your mind.
Yeah.
That I got to
Grant,
meet the guy.
Hey, Greg, I just want to say fantastic presentation. Kind of like what Kevin was saying, really resonated with me. Thought it was awesome material. I heard you say that you were from Carlsbad. I was assuming based off of the presentation, your personality, that you're probably from North County. But I'm going to be back in North County in 2 weeks, specifically staying in San Clemente. And I was wondering if I could kind of book some time like Kevin did, but also wondering if you're a waterman, if you want to paddle out at Swami's or Pipes or Cardiff. I don't know if you're into that. I would assume at some point I got a little quiver going if you're in Carlsbad. So knocks two
Oh,
birds out with one
it's
stone,
my
a little
little one.
exercise, a little mentorship. I
Alex
don't
is
know.
autistic.
Let's go,
So
Grant. I love
wondering
this.
if you'd be interested in
Yeah.
something like that.
With the
Yes.
K?
At the sea.
Wait, hold on. Sorry, there's someone.
He
There's some
like he hates it when they like misspell his name. It's like
whoever is hot on the mic. Yeah. Grant, yes. Sorry. Long way to say yes. I would love that. I grew up in Bend, Oregon, so I'm actually did
When I
not
was
grow up
eating
in
it, I was like,
County,
oh, let me try it.
but everyone thought I should be in California.
not
So that's
bad, right?
I mean, it tastes like
yes, I
the
would love to serve.
Okay, cool.
Gregory, now that you do
They
all
have like
these
this
crazy things, people now, you
My
open
son
yourself
wanted me to
up to
buy
all
it
the
so he could fucking
requests.
sell it at school. Shit.
Somebody turn off your mic,
Like
whoever that is. I
$2,000 for
can't-
like this like little
Machine.
machine.
So Greg, do you want me to
and you just,
email you?
like,
I mean, it like I
throw
said,
the
2 to
shit in
3
there and
weeks.
it
Winter
just,
should
like,
be coming. Swell should be
yeah.
getting pretty big. Chest high, hopefully. So if you wanna fucking
Do it
go
with,
out and surf a bit, just let me know. I can email you, try to find a time slot that works for you because I know you're a working professional. So
Yes, I'm putting my email in the chat. Let's do
cool.
this.
Sounds good.
Appreciate the ask. This is gonna be fun.
Of
This is great.
course. Yeah.
I'm gonna have a bunch of new friends to hang out with after this.
Yeah, cool. I mean, kills two birds with one stone. Well, mentorship, but obviously, you're getting out in the water. There's no such thing as a bad morning in the water, right? Catching a low tide. So thank
I
you.
agree. Thanks, Greg.
Gregory,
Appreciate you.
thank you, man. This was so awesome. I appreciate you for doing this, and I think you got a lot of new fans today. So everyone, go watch his TED Talk, connect with him on LinkedIn, and by all means, take him up on that extremely generous offer to have a one-on-one. So, Gregory, thank you, buddy. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jordy, for bringing me in. Thanks for you taking the bold action after watching the talk to reach out to me. I really appreciate that. And thank you